If you, like me, were a geeky kid growing up in the 1980s, there's a very good chance that you owned a calculator watch. And if you owned a calculator watch, there's also a very good chance that you spoke into it pretending to be Michael Knight. Unfortunately, it would take about 25 years for anyone to answer that call because the first wristwatch telephone, the W300, turned up in 2007. A couple of years after that, a couple of the big boys thought they'd dip their toe in the wrist phone market, and the LG GD910 and the Samsung S9110 were launched. These were both capacitive touchscreen devices launched in 2009. The Samsung only came out in France, and the LG did get a limited release in the UK through Orange, and cost originally about £500 but can now be purchased for about £250. Neither, it seems, were particularly popular and have now been pretty much forgotten about. The Chinese manufacturers have, however, carried on making wristwatch phones, and these devices are a lot cheaper than the LG and Samsung and all have resistive touch screens. They're generally pretty ugly and almost all of them cram so much on the screen that they need a stylus to press the tiny buttons. There's still part of that child inside me that yearns for a proper computer on the wrist, something like an iPod Nano but with applications and internet connectivity. However, until I can properly scratch that itch, I decided to try out a watch phone. But with so many to choose from, how did I pick one? Well, I decided what features were important to me. I specifically didn't ever want to have to use a stylus. I wanted the watch to be as slim as possible, but with a reasonably large screen, preferably OLED, because I'd wanted an OLED watch for some time, so this would kill two birds with one stone. I also wanted to review one that hadn't been reviewed elsewhere, and in the end I decided upon the Skywatch, and this was from China Vision. Now, I've got to say that I did pay full price for this, so I can be completely impartial in this review. It cost me about £100, so that's not cheap, but it's also less than half the price of the now discounted LG watch. So let's have a look at it. The first thing you get is this unbranded plain cardboard box, but inside that you get a nice carrying case. It's a bit of a shame that you're never going to use that again once you get the watch out of it. And inside the carrying case you have the instructions, which at the top left there says User Guider. It's a single sheet of paper. And then also you get a USB extension lead. You get a USB power supply. It's European standard, but it does come with an adapter. And of course you get the watch itself. So let's have a closer look at that. It's designed to be chunky, and it is certainly chunky, but it's not ridiculous, unlike some of the other watch phones. I'll show you where the SIM goes. It's behind this little slot on the right here. You unscrew this thing that looks like a bezel, and behind there, that's where the SIM is. Now, if you get one of these, pay attention to which way up I'm holding the SIM, because the instructions don't tell you which way around it goes. This is a bit fiddly to get back on again, this little cover here, but once you've got the knack, you only have to put it on once and that's it then, you never have to remove it again. Make sure you screw it all the way down, otherwise it occasionally says that the SIM isn't registered. It's just because the SIM isn't in far enough. Right, now let's have a look here. You've got two buttons and a speaker in the middle there, and another two buttons on this side, and that sort of fake bezel that I mentioned. On the back, there's nothing at all. It's a very simple watch indeed. The strap here, as you notice, it's a sort of plastic strap, but right on the end of it is a USB plug, which plugs into this thing. Of course, it could plug into any USB plug, and that's how you charge it. You plug it into a USB lead and charge it that way. It takes a few hours to charge, same as any normal mobile phone. I can't remember the exact amount of time. Right, let's have a play around with the watch. So there's the time, and as I swipe down you can see I've got a dual time display which I can configure to different places, a digital clock, and then back to that clock face again. Top right button shows the date, and then we're back to the clock face again. If we swipe right we get into the phone functions. And let's have a look at some of these. Well, on the left here I've got a media player. I don't know if Acer Bass know that their music's included with this phone as a sample track. I'm not too sure whether they've got paid for that. There's 2 GB of storage on there if you really do want to put music on. Let's try dialing a number. As you can see, I'm doing quite well here. No need for a stylus at all with this phone, which, as I mentioned, is one of the big reasons why I bought this particular model. We can dial that number by pressing the green phone, and there it is, it's dialing now. And I'm going to hang up on that one because I had no idea who that was that I was dialing. I just typed random numbers. Let's go into the phone book, which is the third thing along here. As you can see, I haven't got many things in there, just the things that came on the SIM and a couple of numbers at the bottom. You can scroll up and down using the right hand buttons, or you can scroll with your finger. And you select an item by tapping it with the finger, rather obviously. So I'll dial my iPhone here. I should point out that any buzzing you hear is RF interference. It wasn't actually coming out of the speaker of the watch. So rather unsurprisingly, the watch phone does make phone calls. But now let's try and send a text message, and here's where we hit a bit of a problem. Unfortunately, the text input doesn't have predictive text. You know, the T9 stuff that makes sending text easier and is especially important on a device like this. It does have T9 or smart text for a number of different languages, in fact all the different languages that it has, apart from English. So when I have to type a text message, I have to do it the old school way by repeatedly pressing each button to get the message in. So obviously I'm going to speed this process up for the filming, otherwise you'll get rather bored watching me try and type it. Now as you can see, I'm having a little bit of trouble, not too much, but it is a bit annoying, and I'll be honest, I don't like sending text on this thing. Then again, I don't like sending text messages full stop. On my iPhone, I just send emails to people rather than text messages. In fact, I think I've sent maybe 2 or 3 in the last year, but as you can see on here, it does work. Now this is a very simple device, and don't let it fool you otherwise. It's got a few different features here, like the weather, the temperature, as well as a compass, which seems to be designed by the Dharma Initiative, and a few other features as well. But there's no calculator, there's no calendar, there's no email, there's no way you can add extra storage to it, there's no camera. It really is a very simple device. It's pretty much just a watch and a phone stuck together. And that's about it. Now that's all I was looking for, but don't think that there's loads of extra hidden features that I'm not showing you. I'm pretty much showing you everything it does. I'll show you how it looks when it receives a text message, so I'll send this message from my iPhone to the watch, and let's have a look. Here's what happens. It pops up on the screen, message from my iPhone, and we can press the read button at the bottom left here, and it shows the message on the screen. Now I'll try and scroll down. Oh, it doesn't scroll. I have to use the buttons on the right hand side to scroll. And it's things like that in the operating system that are a little bit weird. Sometimes buttons work, sometimes they don't. It depends on which menu you're in. It's not the kind of Apple way of doing things, but then again, what is? Let's dial the watch and see how that looks. And as you can see, you get this message on the screen here. It does vibrate as well. I should have mentioned that earlier on. It's got a vibration motor, not a very strong one, but you can feel it, of course, on your wrist because it's touching it. And there you go, we're now in the middle of a phone call, although nobody's speaking, so time to hang up. Press the hang up button, and that's it. Now because I haven't got any friends at all, I'll ring my own answer phone to test out the microphone and the speaker, so let's have a listen.
Hello, your call cannot be taken at the moment, so please leave your message after the tone.
Oh, hi there. You must be in the garage filming a video at the moment, so I'll ring you back later. Bye. You might have noticed that the phone shut the screen down there to save some power, which was a bit irritating in the middle of a phone call, but I'll show you how you can change those settings later on in the video. For the moment, we'll go inside the house and listen to the answer phone message we just left.
You have one message. Message 1.
Oh, hi there. You must be in the garage filming a video at the moment, so I'll ring you back later. Bye.
Well, it's not brilliant, but it's not too bad. Now let me show you the most exciting thing that it does. Yes, that's right, there's an animation and the sound of a tiger when you switch it off or on again, so let's switch it back on. That's some pretty exciting stuff, I think you'll agree. Now let's get into some of those power saving menus. One thing you can do is schedule the time it comes on and goes off every day. So I schedule mine to wake up every day at 6:30 in the morning and then switch off again at 11 o'clock at night. And by doing that, the power for the phone lasted well over a week. Now the other setting that you need to look into is whether or not you want it to blank the screen out after a few seconds or to stay on continuously. Power saving mode blanks it out very quickly, and I'll demonstrate how long that takes now after leaving it alone for a few seconds. It just stays like this and then goes blank that quickly, so it doesn't stay on very long at all. Now if you put it back into general mode, That clock, that OLED clock, or whatever time display you leave on, will stay on all day. And with the OLED screen continuously lit, the maximum amount of battery life you'll get out of it will be about 12 or 13 hours, which isn't really enough to get through a full day. So here's how it looks in the dark, which I think is pretty cool. Unfortunately, it's let down by the lackluster clock faces, which are rather dull and uninteresting, and unfortunately these can't be changed, so I think that's a real missed opportunity. But then compare those crisp displays to how it looks in the daylight, which, I'll be honest, is pretty unusable. Ultimately, the problem with any watch phone is the idea of speaking into your watch whilst you're out on the street. Most people wouldn't use their normal phone in speaker mode outside because they'd look like an idiot and they wouldn't be able to hear what the person on the other end was saying. And the same goes for the watch phone. Now, you could of course use it with a Bluetooth headset, but if you're doing that, you might as well just have any other phone attached to the end of it. So there is a part of me that thinks the idea of a watch phone is cool, but then there's also the practical part of me that punches the other part of me in the face, breaks its glasses and tells it to grow up. Anyway, thanks for watching.